Support for WUSF comes from listeners like you and from Tampa Bay Solar, with a portfolio of commercial, residential, and special projects dedicated to providing long-term value and sustainability with solar while contributing to Florida's transition to clean, renewable energy. Learn more at tampabaysolar.com.
Florida lawmakers want the ban on offshore oil drilling to continue, but the Trump administration wants to ramp up oil drilling on the Gulf Coast. I'm Sky LeBron, and today on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking about why lawmakers are against new oil drilling leases and what that could mean for our coastal communities. And later, we'll speak with a man who rescues and gives new life to books. Also, it's the 100th year of the Harlem Globetrotters, and we've got one of the stars with us today. Got a question for him or want to share your favorite Globetrotter memory? Call us up, 813-755-6562. You can also email us, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org, or watch and comment on YouTube. You don't want to miss today's show, so join us after these news headlines.
Lawmakers on a controversial U.S. military strike. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended the strike amid questions, saying the operation is ongoing.
This has been a highly successful mission that's ongoing and continued, and we're pleased to be here today to update Congress on how that's developing and how that's moving forward. As I said, I believe it's our 22nd, 23rd such engagement, certainly been at least the fourth or fifth that I've been involved in.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other officials are expected to face questions this week about a September attack on a boat suspected of carrying drugs that killed 2 people. Lawmakers are scrutinizing the strike as the U.S. ramps up military pressure on Venezuela. The BBC says it will fight a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit filed by President Trump. He's accusing the British broadcaster of intentionally editing clips in a TV documentary. Trump claims it makes it seem like he directed supporters to storm the U.S. Capitol building on January 6, 2021. NPR's Lauren Frere reports from London.
A BBC spokesperson says the network will defend this case, and lawmaker Stephen Kinnock says the British government supports that.
I think it's right that the BBC stands firm.
He spoke to Sky News. President Trump is seeking $5 billion for alleged defamation and another $5 billion for what his lawsuit says are deceptive and unfair trade practices. He accuses the BBC of, quote, maliciously defaming him to interfere with the last U.S. election. The BBC says the way it edited Trump's speech in that documentary was a mistake. It apologized to Trump, and 2 executives resigned. But the network says there is no basis for compensation. Lauren Frere, NPR News, London.
Hiring slowed last month as U.S. employers added just 64,000 jobs. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the unemployment rate rose to its highest level in 4 years.
Healthcare and construction were some of the only industries to add jobs in November. Factories cut jobs, and so did delivery services. The pace of hiring has slowed sharply since the beginning of the year. Concern over a weakening job market led the Federal Reserve to lower its benchmark interest rate last week for the 3rd time since September. The Labor Department's ability to monitor the job market was hampered this fall by the 6-week government shutdown. Both the October and November jobs numbers were delayed, and the survey used to track unemployment was not conducted in October. The unemployment rate for November was 4.6%. That's up from 4.4% in September, and the highest jobless rate since the fall of 2021. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Stocks are trading mixed on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow was down 235 points, the Nasdaq up 3. This is NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. As expected, the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has filed a federal lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis. The Southern Poverty Law Center joined in the suit along with the Muslim Legal Fund of Florida. It follows the governor's executive order in which he designated CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organizations. The order instructs Florida agencies to prevent the two groups and those who have provided them material support from receiving contracts, employment, and funds from a state executive or cabinet agency. In a statement, they say only the federal government can designate organizations as terrorist groups. They also say the order violates the Constitution's guarantee of due process. Jewish communities around the world are reeling from the killing of at least 15 people Sunday during a celebration in Australia on the first day of Hanukkah. Philip Weintraub is rabbi of Temple B'nai Israel of St. Petersburg. Speaking during Florida Matters Live and Local, he said one of the miracles celebrated during Hanukkah is the freedom to worship, plus
that we could be secure in our homes, to celebrate our holidays, to live our lives. And unfortunately, that security is poked and prodded and attacked in all sorts of different ways, generation after generation.
He says Jewish congregations have been forced to provide increased security at all events. It's estimated that Jewish organizations in the U.S. have spent around 10% of their budgets to hire off-duty officers and install metal detectors. You're going to want to leave yourself a little extra time if you plan to drive north on the Howard Franklin Bridge overnight tonight. Drivers will be detoured off the interstate at Gandy Boulevard starting at 11 p.m. This will allow crews to finish installing overhead signs on the new Howard Franklin. Weather permitting, the bridge should be open again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
I'm Nancy Guan, a reporter at WUSF. Like you, I'm busy, and I need help staying on top of what's going on. I depend on the Wake Up Call, the daily newsletter from WUSF. It starts your weekdays with a quick early glance at the important news happening in the Tampa Bay region and the world. You get quality reporting from WUSF and NPR journalists, and connections to local artists, events, and more. Sign up is easy. Just visit WUSF.org.
You're listening to Florida Matters Live and Local, broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio at WUSF in Tampa. I'm Sky LeBron. In 2020, the first Trump administration put a moratorium on oil drilling in the Gulf. Now, the president is aiming to ramp up the sale of leases for oil drilling in the Gulf, the opposite of what the 2020 executive order intended. Environmentalists say this would increase the risk of spills, leaks, accidents, and other stress on the Gulf environment. And Florida's entire congressional delegation, Republicans and Democrats, seem to be on the same page against the new oil leases. A bipartisan congressional delegation sent a letter to the president recently voicing opposition to the plan. Their main focus was on the Gulf Test Range, a military training area that helps evaluate air and weapon systems. Drilling out there could impact billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. Steve Newborn is an environmental reporter for WUSF. Amy Green is a journalist with Inside Climate News. Both are with us now on Florida Matters Live and Local. Thank you both for being here. Steve, I wanted to start out by asking, for people not familiar with how this industry works, how does the idea of oil leasing happen with the government, with companies? How's that all combined?
Right. So the federal government has jurisdiction over the Gulf of Mexico, America, whatever you want to call it, several hundred miles, basically in the middle of the Gulf. And what they have done in the past have leased parcels to oil and gas drilling companies. What's different this time is that beginning in 2029, the Department of the Interior wants to open up an area basically to the east of the Alabama-Florida state line. It's kind of an imaginary line that runs down the Gulf here. And that has traditionally been off limits to oil and gas leases. And, it's kind of opened up a can of worms there politically, as we'll talk about.
Amy, I want to bring you into this conversation, journalist with Inside Climate News. How easy is it for the Trump administration to do a 180 on the moratorium they put in place in the Gulf in 2020, one that I think was a pretty big story for Floridians and a lot of people living along the Gulf back in that time?
That's right. As you said, the Trump administration in 2020, or President Trump himself in 2020, issued this executive order, or this memorandum that protected this area of the eastern Gulf of Mexico from offshore oil. And so that's where a lot of this opposition in Florida is centered. Leaders like our Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, congressional delegation, want the president to, stick to that, 2020 executive order, and not reverse that policy.
Yeah, I mean, is this a rarity for a congressional delegation to combine in an effort like this, Amy? How rare is it to get Republicans and Democrats on the same page for environmental issues like this?
Well, I think this opposition that we're seeing to this Trump administration proposal is kind of remarkable, in a red state like Florida, where the Republican leadership, like Governor Ron DeSantis, has stood very firmly with the Trump administration on many other policies. And I think it shows how fresh the 2020 Deepwater Horizon spill, which caused a lot of damage and a lot of economic damage in coastal areas. I think it shows how fresh that still looms in the minds of many in our state. And I think it also shows how important a clean Gulf and clean beaches are to the economy in Florida.
Yeah, I guess 15 years ago really isn't that long ago. That happened in 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil platform disaster. I want to talk about that in just a second. But Steve, when you're reading over that letter from the congressional delegation, something that you see is that there is some focus on the environment, but a lot of it is also focused on the Gulf Test Range, a military training area. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that plays into this?
Right. That's been the rationale for not allowing any drilling east of that Alabama-Florida state line that continues out in the Gulf. It's prized as an area for test bombing runs from Eglin Air Force Base, Avon Park bombing range in Central Florida. They use it as a training range, and the military, which has a lot of sway in these things, obviously has said that it would interfere. Having platforms out there and barges and pipelines and all this infrastructure would interfere with the bombing range mechanics that they have to do. So they have been very influential in this. I haven't heard much from them at all lately, though.
That's what I was going to ask you. You haven't heard from military officials speaking out, hey, this is going to impact us in this way. I know they might be a little tight-lipped considering it's coming from the federal administration.
Right. Yeah, you have two sides of the same coin there. I mean, the Department of the Interior is proposing one thing, and you have the Military Department of Defense maybe opposing it in another thing. We haven't heard a peep from them, but I'm sure there's a lot of behind-the-scenes machinations going on there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that history. The Gulf has been impacted by deepwater drilling. There was that Deepwater Horizon oil platform disaster in 2010 that killed 11 people and really ruptured the Gulf for a large amount of time. Steve, can you touch a little bit about maybe people have just moved into the area, don't know too much about it? What can you remember from that time covering this area?
Oh, my God, yeah. It's still very present out there in the Gulf. It was one of the biggest oil spills in history. Untold amounts of fish and Rice's whales, which is a subspecies of whales that's it's endangered in the Gulf. We don't know how many of them got killed. And they sprayed dispersant over the water to keep the oil from going onto shore, and that ended up killing. We don't know how many fish. I guess just dropped to the bottom of the Gulf. Right. The effects are still being found today, especially here in Florida. They were afraid that the oil slick was going to reach Apalachicola, which is the center of the state's oyster industry. So the state basically had an open season on oysters. Get them now before they die, right? And, well, the slick never made it that far, but they harvested so many oysters, it basically had killed the oyster industry in Florida ever since, and is just finally getting back in its legs now.
Just a wild story from 2010. There's been movies made on it. There's been books written about it. It's just a really potent part of Florida history. Amy Green, meanwhile, we've seen the Trump administration try to stop things like offshore wind power development. Do you have any idea on the impact that could have on the environment compared to this deep water oil drilling that we're starting to see more leases for?
That's right. This is all part of a Trump administration policy to phase out climate-minded policies that harken back to the Biden administration. The Trump administration says that a lot of these policies are based on restoring American energy dominance, just to borrow language from the Trump administration there. But there's, a lot of very obvious environmental concerns with these policies when it comes to opening these Eastern Gulf, leases for oil drilling. There are very obvious environmental concerns in the Gulf. The Tampa Bay Times had a story that said that's an area where there's loggerhead sea turtles, endangered small to sawfish, and deep sea corals and sponges. Steve mentioned the Rice's whale, which is an endangered species with fewer than 100 individuals left in the wild. But it's also worth pointing out that Florida is a state that is uniquely vulnerable to climate change, which is accelerating because of fossil fuel use. And so in recent years in our state, we've seen record hot temperatures, record hurricanes. Sea level rise is accelerating in our state at some of the most extreme rates on Earth. And this is all leading to a lot of risk. That is prompting insurance companies to raise rates and pull out of markets altogether, and it's leading to this insurance crisis. And so expanding oil drilling in the Gulf, this would be an important development for the environment in the Gulf, but also for a lot of Floridians.
Well, it's so interesting that you bring that up and talk about the economic impacts, not just in terms of oil prices or anything directly influenced by that, but also maybe insurance because of the ripple effects of the climate damages that this can do. Let's say all these leases pass and there's a lot of oil drilling going on. 5-10 years down the road, what do you see happening, Amy, in terms of how this could hit the pocketbooks and how this can hit the environment of Florida?
Well, a lot of things could happen. It's possible that they could open up these leases and nobody would end up drilling. Companies would just, purchase them and nobody would drill. It's, very possible that the Trump administration will be swayed by all of this political opposition. He's also experiencing opposition, or the Trump administration is experiencing opposition on this issue from other states like California. And so it's possible, this will not come to fruition. As far as next steps on this proposal, the Trump administration is welcoming public comment on the proposal through January.
And Steve, with the couple seconds we have left, what happens next? Or what I really wanted to ask is, have you seen any lawsuits about these oil leases just yet?
Yeah, a consortium of environmental groups based in Florida and around the Gulf, spearheaded by Healthy Gulf, which is based in New Orleans, has filed lawsuit against the planned sale. They say that the federal government has not looked at the possible at the possible environmental impacts of this. It bypasses what's called the National Environmental Policy Act. So that's going through the courts right now, and there are bills from Senators Scott and Moody against this too in the Senate, as well as bills that have been filed in the House too. So it's still going on.
An ongoing story. We've been speaking with WUSF's Steve Newborn and Amy Green with Inside Climate News. Thank you both for your time.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thank you.
When we get back, there's a bookstore in Largo that rescues books from landfills, cleans them up, and resells them to the public for cheap. We'll talk about that story and plenty more on Florida Matters Live and Local. Keep it with us.
Gulfside Healthcare Services is a nonprofit delivering comfort, dignity, and support at life's most tender moments. Your year-end gift helps patients receive the care they deserve, regardless of ability to pay. Visit gulfside.org/make-a-gift.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Steve Inskeep.
A donation to this station can take many forms, including that vehicle you no longer need.
If you don't need it, donate it. It could be worth hundreds of dollars or even more in support.
Think about it.
I'm Robin Young. We'll continue to follow the latest news about the weekend shooting at Brown University in Rhode Island, but also the questions that are being raised. Should there have been more security cameras on campus, more security getting in and out of buildings? The latest from Providence next time, Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Sky LeBron. If I could, I would be a big-time book collector. There's so many different varieties of books crammed with so much knowledge, and that's not even considering the awesome fiction stories out there. Plus, if I had a lot of books, I would look really smart when people came over. But alas, money is a thing. Books can be expensive. But in Largo, there's the Book Rescuers. They take books about to be thrown away, clean them up, and give them a chance at a new home on a deep discount. George Brooks is the owner of the Book Rescuers, and he's here with me now. George, how you doing?
Loving life, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for being on, man. I appreciate it. You know, you and I have talked before, but I want to ask this question for people that may not be aware of it. How did the Book Rescuers start? Give me a little recap of how you got into this point with the store in Largo.
COVID took out my business in 2020 of furnishing hotels. Long story medium, I ended up running into an Amazon seller after failing an Amazon product, and I found out that he was throwing away 5 tons of books into the landfill every week.
5 tons. That's crazy, man.
And I went to my wife and I said, you know, I think we should rehome these. And we started in our driveway. And luckily, she's as crazy as I am because it is the most physical thing we've ever done, while also hands down exponentially the most rewarding thing we've ever done.
Yeah. So question here, how much work do these books need? Does it take a while to get them back into selling shape? Does it depend on the book or what condition? Where are you getting them from?
So even though they were on their way to the landfill, the vast majority of what we get come from other sellers that buy in bulk, and basically online in those venues, fiction and kids books never get sold. They don't even look at them. They just see it and throw it away. It's like 12 to 15% of what they get is actually profitable in their eyes and worth the shipping and the fees. And I mean, a lot of these books have never been read once. We don't do much in the repairing end of it because the volume we take is and our prices being basically $1 to $3, with $3 being hardcovers. It's more about getting them organized on the shelf so you can find them when you're looking through our 3 miles of shelving.
And that's when I went to the Book Rescuers, something I noticed. I'm a big Frank Herbert Dune fan, so I found some first edition Dune books in a matter of just a couple minutes because it was so well organized. The other things that I noticed was like a big hole in one of the aisles that goes from your first aisle all the way to your last aisle, so it looks like you're in a portal and you're going through this book maze. There's also a huge bookmas tree. It's like a huge Christmas tree made entirely of books. When you were conceptualizing this place, how much thought went into how it looked as soon as you walked in?
You know, I never expected to be this big. I have a building like this. Our last spot had 4 parking spots and no AC. So it was you know, I made a lot of I conceded a lot of things that I just didn't have time or money for. The one thing was that I absolutely wanted that infinity hole through the bookshelves, through all 15 of them. It almost feels like you should see yourself in the end of it. Like there should be a mirror somewhere.
But you don't. You see the kids section at the end.
No, that's exactly. So that's, you know, I want everything to be fun and relaxed and just be the space that the community can truly feel comfortable. Our floors, they're you know, some cement. You can come in and be yourself. And we're a year now into it in this location, and we've got a stage we're putting in for small spoken word type of deals and book readings and those things. So it's fun seeing the journey for sure.
One more question about that book mystery. Oh, actually, two more questions. How many times have you climbed that book mystery? Because it's big. It's a big tree. It's about 10 feet tall.
It is. So I think there's a few pictures of me on the tree for sure. It is it was a very, very sturdy tree. I moved that particular tree that was there a few weeks ago. We moved it about 10 feet over so we could put the stage there. It's still as tall, not as wide. I don't think I'd climb this one.
And I visited you a while back at the store. You said you said one of your goals, it really stuck out to me. You said you want to rehome all of the books that Hillsborough County and Pinellas County are going to throw in the trash. How realistic is that? Because that's a lot of books.
It I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's over 100 tons weekly. And to put that into perspective, we have probably rehomed. We have rehomed and so anything that comes in bad condition, falling apart, that we can't upcycle into art supplies, or sometimes they come in with indications that they might have bugs in them at one point, and we don't take the risk. So instead of them going into the landfill, we properly recycle them. And last year alone, between what we rehomed in store and properly recycled for damage and bugs, was about 250 tons so far this year. We have a little bit of ways to go, but I feel like we can do it.
When I was there, you showed me some really old books that contained old Tampa history inside of it. How often are you getting weird texts like that? Not even weird, but just interesting texts like that.
Right. Like how often do you see a book from the early 1900s about Hillsborough County? Like those are my favorite books. And as much as I'd love to say we don't get those all the time, as long as you're not specific on just Tampa Bay, I mean, I get books and maps and all sorts of things just all the time, every day. It's mind blowing. A couple weeks, someone brought in maps that are, I don't know, maybe 12 by 18 inches. And the oldest one is from the 1500s.
Wow. That's hard to even wrap your head around, honestly.
And we're gonna be doing more of a social media deep dive on those really cool things like that Hillsborough County book or those maps, just to maybe spark a deeper passion for things that maybe people just haven't realized. The little nuances, like anything before 1820 with color was painted mostly by hand with women and children.
With the couple seconds we got left, we're seeing people read physical books less because there's digital audio books. A lot of people are relying on AI to even read summaries and things for them. Does this at all worry you for your business model in a digitized world?
I actually noticed the opposite. People are wanting to get away from their Kindles. Our books are cheaper than that. And there's a time and place for everything. But also people are getting away from streaming services, and both video and audio. They're wanting the hard copy because nowadays you have to be subscribed to so many different things. So under our roof, I see the complete opposite trend.
That's George Brooks. He's the owner of the Book Rescuers bookstore in Largo. George, thank you for coming in and talking about your store with us.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure, Sky.
Stick around. Coming up, we're speaking with one of the Harlem Globetrotters. Next, you're listening to Florida Matters Live and Local. More to come after this.
On the next Fresh Air, we remember Rob Reiner and rebroadcast the interview we recorded just a few months ago. We talked about his TV shows and movies, his relationship with his father, Carl Reiner, a TV pioneer, and what it was like to grow up in a showbiz family and become a star himself at a relatively young age. Join us.
Great conversation on Fresh Air tonight at 7 on WUSF.
I'm Lily Belcher, and I'm a Rush Family Radio News intern at WUSF. As an intern, I work alongside professional journalists to produce compelling stories about the greater Tampa Bay region. In addition to reporting, I help produce Florida Matters Live and Local, WUSF's hour-long live show airing Monday through Thursday. WUSF's internship program has given me hands-on experience working in a newsroom and helped prepare me for my career after college.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Sky LeBron. Yeah, I love it. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. The Harlem Globetrotters are coming to town. It's their centennial, the Big 100, and they're stopping by the Yuengling Center at the University of South Florida in Tampa on January 11th next year. It's part of their 100-year world tour. They're also playing in cities across Florida, like in Lakeland, Orlando, some other places. If you don't know the Globetrotters, honestly, I'd be surprised. Where have you been the last 100 years? They're a mix between a basketball team and live entertainment performers doing a bunch of tricks and snazzy moves. Have you been to a Globetrotters game? What was it like for you? Share your memories with us at 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave us a comment. We'll see it. Today, we have one of the Globetrotters in the studio with us. Dante Hammer Harrison has been oohing and ahhing fans across the world for years. Dante, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Of course. First of all, do you prefer Dante or Hammer? Which one do you want me to call you?
Both is fine, either. You know, my mommy calls me Dante, but everybody else call me Hammer.
I'll interchange it. I'll keep that. Or actually, I'll call you Hammer because I'll keep Dante exclusive to your mom. How long have you been a Globetrotter for?
So I've been a Globetrotter for about 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and in those 17 years, I've been to about 70 countries around the world, entertaining thousands, if not millions of fans.
Wow, that is absolutely crazy. So 17 years, have you been doing the same thing all 17 years, or has your role kind of changed over the years?
Yeah, definitely. My role has definitely evolved. You know, I came as like a role player coming in. I was super athletic, you know, straight out of college. You know, all my dunks was, you know, amazing. And now that I'm a little bit older and a little bit more wiser, I took on a showman role. So I'm the one usually mic'd up during the games, bringing the fans closer to the basketball game, the modern day Meadowlark Lemon. So when fans come out, they'll get to see me in action.
So are you directing activities that are happening on the court? Are you doing some of the tricks as well, or is it?
Yeah. No, I'm on the court. I'm playing. While I'm playing, I'm mic'd up. So
Wow.
Fans, you might hear me breathing a little bit, but we're also joking. You know, we're connecting the fans. The Harlem Globetrotters are known for engaging with our audiences. So 1 second you might see me go up for a slam dunk. Next second, I'm probably sitting next to your kid eating his popcorn.
Eating his popcorn. That's important
Right.
to know. Has that become at all harder for you as now you go from a role player to somebody that has to be so involved in everything that's happening around you?
I mean, I love it. It definitely made me who I am today. One of my greatest gifts I received from the Globetrotters was learning how to communicate, learning how to talk. You know, I grew up an introvert, kept to myself a lot, but the Harlem Globetrotters gave me a platform where I can step outside of my comfort zone and engage with the people around me. So if I'm not on the court, I'm also doing things such as visiting schools. I'm actually going to Muller Elementary today, right after this, to do, you know, some character education programs. We do anti-bullying programs and stuff. And these are things, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I never pictured myself doing. So, you know, I'm here and I'm happy where I'm at.
So you're from Brooklyn, New York, but you're also living in Tampa right now, right?
Yeah. I've been a Tampa native since 2011. You know, I did what all New Yorkers do is move here. But yeah, I love it. Tampa has evolved so much. I'm over there on the Temple Terrace side, but I love it here. I can't wait to bring the team down and let them enjoy. Maybe take them to Ybor and hang
Nice,
out there, eat some good food.
Hey, make sure that's not too late at night or not maybe on a game day.
Right.
When it comes to Temple Terrace, too, I do want to say, low-key, a great spot, one of the more low-key areas of the Hillsborough County region, but people don't talk about Temple Terrace as much as they should. For people that don't watch the Harlem Globetrotters or haven't seen a game, if you could describe it, you're the best salesman for this.
Okay.
How's this different from watching just your regular standard NBA, high school, college basketball game?
Well, like I said, the unique thing about the Globetrotters is we bring our fans closer to the action, So we are a very competitive team. Our goal is to win every time we step out on that court. So we kind of try to play extra hard to get a comfortable lead so we can, have some fun with the fans, play some pranks on the generals that we're going to play against, and, have crowd participation. We like to bring fans out on the court. Kids, give them a chance to shoot on a basket, maybe spin a ball on their finger, and just have a good time.
The Generals, do you guys play that team every single time, or is it different?
Yeah. When we come to Tampa, we'll actually be exhibition them. So we'll be playing them here at Yingling.
Are they trying as hard as possible to make sure that the Globetrotters walk out with an L?
Absolutely. I think for any athlete stepping on a court, the goal is always to bring your best game. Sometimes they're just outmatched by our talent. We have some talented individuals, and for me myself, I come from a D1 college background myself. I played at Hampton University. Like I said, I graduated in 2009 and been with the team ever since.
Are they the Pirates?
Yes.
Oh, I got that.
You know,
I
your
got
stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you've been following me.
No, I mean, yes, I've been following you for years. We're speaking with Dante Hammer Harrison with the Harlem Globetrotters. We're looking for Globetrotter memories. The number to call, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org, or if you're watching on YouTube, just leave us a comment. We'll see it. How you perform so much, so many different places. It must be hard to keep track of all the places that you performed at. Is there a favorite place that really sticks out in your mind that you were able to check out?
Yeah, I would probably say Australia. I've been to about 70 countries around the world. Australia was definitely a memorable place. I'm big on the outdoors. I love the beach life. I love the surfing, even though I'm not very good at it. But I love, their accents and, their culture out there. They're very free with the wind going, and I love interacting with them. Some of my greatest experiences as a Harlem Globetrotters was actually going on military tours. So usually one time during the year, we'll visit some military bases abroad. So I've had a chance to go to like Iran, Kuwait, Afghanistan, and perform for our troops. And that's always a good moment, humbling experience. And our goal is to obviously bring them a piece of the American pie they've been missing. They're away from their families as much as, we are away from our families. So we always have that level of connection when it comes to the military. And those are some of my favorite experiences, is being a Harlem Globetrotter.
That's so cool. I want to learn a little bit more lore about you. How'd you become a Globetrotter? Did you have to apply on like LinkedIn?
No, I wish it was that easy. But like I said, I'm a city kid. I grew up Brooklyn, New York, played a lot of street basketball, and that's where scouts saw my talents. They was following me during my senior year of college at Hampton. And, they invited me to a tryout right after. To be a Harlem Globetrotter, first thing they look for is great basketball players. I know you can't tell hearing me on the radio, but I'm actually 6'9" tall.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
I'm 6'9". Sometimes I sacrifice 2 inches just to say I'm 6'7" because it's like the cool thing.
6'7". I'm so happy I got to say that one time this week. Thank you.
So sometimes I sacrifice 2 inches, but anywho, they scouted me, and the rest is history. I mean, I literally felt like I struck oil with the Globetrotters. You know, it was unbelievable. My family was happy about it and everything. So it's been great.
Ironic you said struck oil after the oil drilling segment. We just had one ago.
I mean, it was intentional.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Hey, let's go to the phones. We have Lori on the line right now. Lori, you are with us with Florida Matters Live and Local.
Hi. I just wanted to call. I actually have a couple memories. I really thank you guys for coming on the air, and I'm so glad you moved down here to the greater state of Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm from Bradenton, Florida, and so I grew up in the 70s, and actually the Harlem Globetrotters went to my school. They came to my school when I was a kid. And so I fell in love with them when I was really young, and I loved watching the discipline that they had and the teammates. I grew up very, very poor, and watching them come together as a team, just something about that made me think I could just do anything. And so my family's still quite poor, and so when my nephews were growing up, they were having a little bit of discipline issues. And so they grew up in Tennessee, and I flew to Nashville and took them to a Globetrotters game about 7 years ago. And I got to say that after that, I talked to them, and now they both started playing basketball. And I just think that that's just part of what you guys offer. And I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you do, because you really do influence. You influenced me in the 70s, and I think you've influenced my nephews also.
Absolutely. First off, I appreciate you calling in and sharing that wonderful story with me. And that's what the Harlem Globetrotters is about. You know, today I'll have a chance to go over to Muller Elementary, and, you know, hopefully I can instill some of the positive things that was instilled in you when you was a young girl. So I'm looking forward to it. I know they're going to be happy to see me. And, my goal is to inspire them. When I was growing up, I overcame a lot of adversity. I also come from humble beginnings, growing up in, a poor area of Brooklyn, New York. So I want to encourage them to, chase their dreams and believe in themselves. And if you do, anything is possible.
Well, thank you so much, Lori, for calling in. We do have one more caller. Let's go to Diane. Diane, you're with us. Florida Matters Live and Local.
Yes, hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Hey there, Hammer. I got my dad with me. He's a World War II Buffalo soldier, 103 years old, from Harlem, New York, 151st Street. And he's seen you guys play back in the day.
Nice.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we'd love to come and see you. Say hello. Okay, never mind. He doesn't want to talk. Can you say hello, Poppy? You're on the radio.
I can say
hello. Okay, he's not going to say hello.
Yes.
He's saying hello.
Give him a chance.
Okay, yeah, all right. He's actually very active. I don't know why he's being shy now.
It's okay.
But, he works out at Advent Health once a week with a trainer, and he's still doing his thing. Actually, he's on Instagram and TikTok. We keep him busy.
Wow. I would love to follow him on Instagram at 103, keeping, his body still active and healthy. I need to learn some secrets.
And Diane, thank you so much for the call. We really do appreciate it. Hammer, just to hear those two calls back to back, I mean, people that have been directly influenced. How's that make you feel? Make you feel something in the gut?
Yeah, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. No, I'm truly inspired about the greats that paved the way for us. We couldn't have did it without them. So you have people who they probably remember, like Curly Neal, Meadowlark Lemon, Goose Tatum, Marcus Haynes, Wilt Chamberlain. There's been so many great Harlem Globetrotters in the past, and my only goal, moving forward past this centennial year is, to be that new modern face and connect it to the next generation, all those memories. So we love when families come out to the Harlem Globetrotter game, because we entertain from 3 to 93 or 103. So those fans will get a chance to, enjoy each other.
Well, we've been speaking with Dante Hammer Harrison. I want to ask you one more question.
Yes.
It says you like reading on your bio.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite book? It can't be basketball related. That'd be cheating.
Yeah, no. So one of my favorite books right now, Also, to remind you, I'm also a licensed realtor, so I'm into real estate. So
What?
it's going to be a
the
business.
other guy, Zeus.
Yeah,
is he
Zeus
also a
McClurkin.
licensed realtor?
Yes,
All
we're
right. Well,
both
tell me, where's the
licensed
best place to buy a home in the Tampa Bay
Tampa.
region?
I'm big on Temple Terrace. I love that area. But it's a business book, and one of my favorite is by Dan Sullivan called Who Not How.
Oh, okay.
And it talks about, delegating things, and instead of asking yourself, how things are done, try to find a who and delegate it out. So, I'm big on business and entrepreneurship. And that's another thing growing up as an athlete, I didn't really learn about. I went kind of all in on sports, and as I became an adult and had to pay bills and do things.
That'll do it to you.
I've learned to find value off the court in myself and in real estate, of course. So that's another thing I encourage, all kids to do is diversify, their energy into other places that can build long-term wealth.
Once again, we've been speaking with Dante Hammer Harrison, a showman with the Harlem Globetrotters. Thank you so much, Hammer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Still to come, it's time for some college football. We'll talk about a few bowl games that you can catch over the holidays. You're listening to Florida Matters live and local. More to come after this.
Celtic Woman returns to the Billheimer Capitol Theater March 25th. Experience the timeless Celtic traditions and amazing music. Don't miss Celtic Woman, March 25th. Tickets on sale now at rutheckerdhall.com.
I'm Scott Tong from Public Radio's midday news magazine Here and Now. We bring you all the news that happens between the morning headlines and the afternoon wrap-up, plus conversations with authors and artists, stories that affect you, maybe a story about you. So join us for NPR's midday news magazine Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
Arts Axis Florida is powered by WUSF, your trusted source for news. Get your local culture and all things creative in Tampa Bay at artsaccessflorida.org.
I'm Douglas Soul, the state government reporter for WUSF's Your Florida team. I'm stationed in Tallahassee, covering the Capitol. You pick who represents you in state government, but what exactly are they doing with your vote and your tax dollars? You've got a busy schedule and it may be hard to follow. Fortunately, my schedule is busy breaking this all down for you. Find Your Florida on air, online, and on social media. Visit WUSF.org/YourFlorida.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Sky LeBron. I'm in for Matt Petty today, by the way. I forgot to mention that. It's college football bowl season, where you can waste your entire day watching two random teams play in random stadiums in random cities with a random sponsor. Tampa is home to two of them this year. The Gasparilla Bowl features the Memphis Tigers taking on the NC State Wolfpack at Raymond James Stadium this Friday afternoon. And on New Year's Eve, the ReliQuest Bowl hosts the Iowa Hawkeyes and Vanderbilt Commodores. It's worth mentioning one other bowl game is happening down I-4. The USF Bulls are trying to finish their season strong as they face Old Dominion, the Monarchs, in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Here to talk with us about bowl season is Scott Glazer. He's the executive director of the Gasparilla Bowl. Scott, thanks for being here. Also with us on Florida Matters Live and Local is Mithil Vyas, sports editor of The Oracle, the student-run newspaper at the University of South Florida's Tampa campus. Thank you, Mithil, for joining us. We want to hear from you, too. What's your favorite bowl game? Are you a loyal fan of a certain team? Are you planning to see a game this season during bowl season? Call us up, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Scott, I want to start with you. A bowl game must be a 12-month job. So how stressful is it when you're building up to this ultimate game day?
It's great. First off, thanks for having me on. It's great to be able to just talk about the game right here in our backyard in Tampa. And it's a year-round, effort. We're a small team of two. And so I actually work for ESPN, and we have a division ESPN event. So we own and operate 35 events across the country. And out of our office here in Tampa, we lead 3 men's basketball tournaments, the Gasparilla Bowl, and then a softball event in Clearwater. So between the 3 of them, it keeps us pretty busy. You get to a week like this where the teams are in town, and it's really time to hit the gas and show them what our community is all about. So it's a lot of fun, but we're ready for game day.
I'm sorry, did you just say you're a team of 2 people? You're running all these?
We are a full-time staff of 2, myself and Jennifer Wagner, and then we have wonderful partners. So don't let me try to paint a picture of we're doing it all on our own. We have a lot of different folks who are doing our PR and our ticket sales and that, but from a full-time year-round, it's the 2 of us.
So this year, the Gasparilla Bowl is going to be Memphis and NC State. When do you find out about who's going to be playing at your bowl game? Do you get early notice, or do you find out when everybody else does?
We find out when everybody else does. So we found out on Sunday, December 7th. It's announced on ESPN, and then the teams, their advanced staff comes in town that Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they go back home. They plan for a few days, and then teams actually arrived here on Monday of this week. So it's a real short turnaround when you have an early date like we do. So that's where all the planning in the off season comes in, and then you just got to be ready to activate.
Do the teams selected, so Memphis and NC State, do they affect what you do on your end? Does which teams get selected really matter?
Well, what you try to do, it doesn't affect anything in terms of the events that we're going to do, the hotels that they're going to stay at, or where they're going to practice. But you try to regionalize as much as you can. Like you mentioned earlier, USF's going to be down the street in Orlando. If on any given year we can get one of our in-state teams, Florida State, Miami, UCF, USF, depending on if they're available. Otherwise, you're looking for a great matchup. Memphis and NC State, they never played each other. They both played in this game once in the past, but never against each other, and never against each other at any point in their history. So you're trying to pick 2 teams where the fan base is either local or it's close enough where they're going to be able to travel. And this is one that's kind of in between both.
What kind of connection does the Gasparilla Bowl have to the greater Tampa Bay region, other than, the nod to our community's famous fictional pirate, Jose Gasparilla? Like, what kind of connection does it have to us here?
Well, again, we're the official kickoff to Gasparilla season. We know the parade's coming up at the beginning of 2026, so we kind of lean into that Jose Gaspar theme. But we also have a nonprofit aspect. We are a for-profit company, but we have a Gasparilla Bowl Gives Back, where we have a variety of different nonprofit partners, the Bullard Family Foundation, Vincent Jackson Family Foundation, Chichi Rodriguez, Feeding Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay Waterkeeper, and a few others. And so we try to connect our corporate partners with our nonprofit partners to kind of continue to create some impact and some benefits in our community.
That's Scott Glazer. He's the executive director of the Gasparilla Bowl. Also with me is Mithil Vyas, the sports editor of the Oracle. Mithil, I want to jump to you in a second. Scott, I do have one more question for you about this specific bowl, the Gasparilla Bowl. What's the economic impact of a game like this on the region? I'm sure that's a big conversation for you guys over the course of the year too, huh?
Yeah, that's always a question we get. I don't get the numbers specifically. Visit Tampa Bay, who kind of leads the tourism charge in our community, will end up getting those type of numbers. But when you're talking about heads in beds, staying in hotels, people are renting cars, eating at our restaurants. It's definitely a time of year where Tampa's never slow, but being the week before Christmas, it is a time where some of these hotels have some vacancy. So for us to be able to put 2 football teams, 2 bands, spirit squads, and fans, NC State alone, to give you an idea, 266 rooms per night for the team. Last year, we had the University of Florida here, and they used 180. So you can see the difference on any given year, the size of the team, how they travel with their staff and their families, that those are hotels that otherwise would have been empty for the week. So, again, we're just trying to bring fans in. It's a perfect time of year for teams to play and then get back home before Christmas.
Are you going to catch a game while you got some time off work? Which one are you headed to? Do you have any friends crashing on your couch to come see their alma mater? The number to call if you want to give your thoughts, 813-755-6562. That's the number to let us know, 813-755-6562. You could also send us a message, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Want to bring in Mithil Vyas. He is the sports editor for the Oracle, the student-run newspaper here on USF's Tampa campus. Mithil, USF's football team team is trying to get its third ever 10-win season under its belt with this bowl game. That's a big improvement. Also, the Bulls just lost its head coach, Alex Golesh, who just went to Auburn. So can you give me a little bit of a feel? What's the pulse of the team right now? What level of focus do you think is on this game versus next year?
Yeah, Sky, thank you for having me on. The pulse of the team, it seems, hasn't changed much at all from what I've been to the press conferences, especially with interim coach Kevin Patrick, who was the defensive line coach. Coming in, he talked about how some of the leaders kind of met with the coaches that have stayed on at USF here, and the brotherhood and camaraderie have kind of not wavered at all. So everything is kind of set in stone. It's been kept on moving how it's been throughout the entire season. Nothing's really changed so far other than the coaching personnel, like you said, with Golesh taking some of the other coaches to Auburn as well.
How's the fan base feeling? I mean, they started the year super hot. They knocked out my alma mater, the Florida Gators, off their pedestal with the first week of September. That one was absolutely heartbreaking, unless you're a USF fan. It's one of the biggest wins in program history. But now they're playing Old Dominion in the Cure Bowl. Is that at all disappointing that they didn't get a stab at one of the larger football programs?
From what I've seen on social media, multiple social media aspects, the fan base is hot. They're hot with the opponent. They're hot with not going to a bigger bowl game. They're hot, but I think things have turned around, especially with Coach Hartline now being hired. But I mean, this fan base is completely hot all the time. They'll say some crazy stuff, yeah. But I mean, it'll definitely be an interesting game. Both very potent offenses. I'm sure you'll ask me about Byram not playing, and then Colton Joseph, the Old Dominion coach, not playing, or quarterback not playing as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, there you go, boom, lead in right there. Because not too much about the Old Dominion quarterback, but Byram Brown, who is a star for the Bulls this season, he's not playing in this one as he decides he could stay at USF, he could transfer to another school, or he could enter his name into the NFL draft. Have you gotten any indication on which way he's leaning?
For me personally, we have heard inklings of some certain aspects as to where he might go. What I've heard the most is NFL, but there's also reason to believe that he'll follow Golesh and want to go into a more Pew4-friendly school down the line. Obviously, some people, like the fan base, wants him to stay at USF, and they're like, oh, we'll build a statue of him if he stays and does good again.
Wow, that'd be a pretty big deal. That's a lot. Who steps in to replace Byram Brown for this bowl game?
What they've announced is Gaston Moore, he's come in a few times, especially with the Bulls putting on a rout of many teams this season. Gaston Moore, he hasn't played much. I think this will be his first time starting a game. It's his 6th year. He previously was at Tennessee with Coach Golesh and UCF, and then this should be his first start, and it should be very interesting. We haven't seen much of him, but I mean, definitely a potent offense. Outside of Byram, I think you won't lose much of a step, especially with Gaston coming in.
And especially with the offensive coordinator for Ohio State coming in for next season, and Brian Hartline, he's still going to be coaching the Buckeyes as they go through their college football playoff run. In the minute that we have left, I do have a couple last questions for you guys. One, Scott, do you wish that you had the Bulls in the Gasparilla Bowl, low-key, just a little bit, tiny bit?
Well, I mean, I do. No disrespect to a Memphis or an NC State, but as I said, having hometown teams, being able to come buy some tickets, at Raymond James Stadium. At the same time, we do our best not to have local teams play in their local home stadium. They want student-athlete experience. I can speak to some of the comments that were said before. I know with the coaching change, the school also wanted an earlier date, which eliminates some of those larger bowls per se. They're trying to get on to the next step of planning for the future with the new coach. But for me, I don't know if you guys know this, but I worked at USF for 20 years.
Oh wow!
I worked in athletics for 17, and I was a student athlete on the baseball team. So USF's close to me just personally on a lot of levels. And so if they would have been in our game, it would have been a pretty unique opportunity for me.
Wow, that's awesome, and a little bit of lore about Scott.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. And final question for you in a couple seconds. We got it, Mithil. Final score prediction for this bowl game between USF and Old Dominion. What do you got?
I don't usually do score predictions.
Come on.
I'll go with a little higher score. I'll say 42-38 USF.
Okay. I respect it. Hey, we've been speaking to Scott Glazer, the executive director of the Gasparilla Bowl, and Mithil Vyas, the sports editor of The Oracle, the student-run newspaper on USF's Tampa campus. Thank you both for being here. That's our show for today. Coming up tomorrow on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're looking into how the governor used taxpayer money allocated for Medicaid to campaign against amendments for abortion rights and recreational pot in last year's election. That doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and you're going to want to catch that episode. Florida Matters executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Lily Belcher is our intern. Our engineers are Jackson Harp and Gio Galvin. Jackson composed the music. Chandler Balcom handled the video today. Subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts and watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Sky LeBron. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll catch you tomorrow.
At WUSF, support comes from the people who listen, like you. Also,